Hello and welcome to SportChaser. For those of you returning, thank you. For those of you who are first tuning in, I appreciate it. This time, I'm no longer back home in Maryland. I'm here in the studios at Indiana Bloomington. It's an exciting day. But without further ado, I want to talk to you about the three things that I'm going to be getting about in this first podcast. The first thing I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about some things going on in the NBA right now. My predictions, my, insight on some things that have gone on in the first week or two of this NBA season. There's been some big things, some surprising teams, some great players who have really taken a big step up and helped their teams in big ways. I'm going to get into that. Second, I'm going to get into my prediction on the Sunday games as well as the Monday Night Football game between the Los Angeles Chargers and the New York Jets. I'm excited about those. There's some really big games this weekend. It's going to be an exciting week of football. And lastly, the James Harden trade. It was rumored to happen all summer. It finally happened this past week. It was a big trade between the Sixers and the Clippers, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on that too. So let's just get right into it. So to start off, I think that we got to start off with the championship team, the Denver Nuggets from last season. They were so good last season. They really were dominant. And in the playoffs, although some people have it as a controversial team due to the fact of the seeds that they played, the injuries that the other teams had, I think the Denver Nuggets looked dominant. Last year, they destroyed the Timberwolves. They destroyed the Phoenix Suns. Although they may have been injured, they still looked dominant. They swept the Lakers and moved on to the NBA championship, where they just absolutely destroyed the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat had a great run, but it ended at the hands of Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. And I think, once again, after watching this first week and a half of basketball, that the Denver Nuggets should be the favorites in the NBA. I don't even think it's really that much of a question as of right now. They are just, aside from the Minnesota Timberwolves game a couple nights ago, they've just looked dominant. Nikola Jokic makes it look easy out there. It almost looks like he's not even trying. It's really fun to watch him. And then they got a solid squad around him. They got Jamal Murray, who, as of right now, Jamal Murray is averaging some ridiculous numbers. He's averaging 19 and 8 points a game, solid defensively, solid with efficiency. Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr. is a funny guy. Don't pass the rock, MPJ. He's gotten this nickname because he constantly just shoots the ball when he shoots, and he's gone out and said before he doesn't think he's ever contested. He'll get the ball when a guy's right in his face, and he'll just shoot the ball. And he's like, I don't even think I'm contested, and he just shoots it. It's a fun team to watch. Jokic is ridiculous, averaging 26, 12, and 7.5 assists. It's a fun squad to watch. I'm excited to see if they can win back-to-back or just, even a push in the playoffs. And speaking of playoffs, there's a new thing in the NBA. The in-season tournament starts tonight. There are 7 games. It's a little weird, but I kind of like it because over time, like when they first announced it, I didn't know what to think of it. But over time, I've kind of grown to like it. I kind of like the idea of there being 30 teams who are, supposedly all healthy in the prime of the season where, everyone's, working on chemistries, obviously. Some teams are hot, some teams are not, but that's just how the NBA goes. That's how all sports go, for a matter of fact. But I kind of like the idea of an in-season tournament where you really have all 30 teams in a good position to win. In the playoffs, with the play-in tournament now, there are 10 teams on each conference. All of them have a good chance at making the NBA Finals. Obviously, some better than others. If you're actually a 1 seed, you have home court advantage. But this is a time where we get to see all 30 teams actually put in the work and see who's the best out of 30 with a hopefully healthy squad, with a fresh team. Like, for example, the Clippers, who I will get into in a little bit. Typically, they're a great team when they're healthy. And sometimes throughout the duration of a season, injuries happen and comes to the playoffs and they're just not healthy and they just don't look the same because they don't have all their guys. Well, now we're going to have a healthy Clippers team. We're going to have a healthy Miami Heat squad. We're going to have a healthy everyone. And we're just going to see who's the best of the best, who's going to, get some, playoff experience when it matters most. So I'm kind of excited to see how it goes. I'm actually going to be going to the Indiana Pacers game tonight against the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm excited for that. The Pacers have been a good team to watch. It's been fun to watch them. But I'm excited. I don't know who's going to win. I like the courts. I like how they're setting up the courts a little bit different. It makes it feel unique which I think is something that the NBA really needs to do. And on top of that, it's great for marketing. Like, the NBA over time has slowly, I feel like, at least for me, it's become harder to watch just because I value defense a lot when I'm watching sports, and especially basketball. And it just feels like the defense just hasn't been there as of late. It's just been a lot of high-powering offenses, and I'm excited to see a bunch of teams actually try and show out 100% game in, game out for a tournament. So who wouldn't want to look good in a tournament? I talked about Jokic. He's MVP, won championship, won finals MVP. Now I'm going to talk about a guy who, rookie from France, Victor Wembanyama. Not sure if you've heard of him. He's had a pretty solid start to the season, but last night against Phoenix Suns, he made Kevin Durant look tiny, literally. I'll put up the video or a picture. There's a picture of Kevin Durant and Victor Wembanyama standing right next to each other on the free throw line, and he just made Kevin Durant look so small, like literally small. Kevin Durant, a 6'11", he's probably 7 feet tall, looked tiny standing next to this guy. It's absolutely crazy. And Wemby last night had a monster game. 38 points, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks, shot 50% from 3. Wemby was a monster out there. He got, down low in the paint. He took the ball. He would dunk all over people. He had a couple nice blocks. He's a good facilitator. He keeps the ball moving. He's agile. He's tall. He's big. He gets around. It's hard to stop a guy who's 7'4" who can move like he's 6 foot tall. It's difficult, but it's really fun to watch. And he's a rookie that is just he's going to take the league by storm. Him and Chet Holmgren, both of them similar builds. They've both been really solid. But another rookie who, actually, I'm going to wait on this. Speaking of Chet Holmgren and speaking of Victor Wembanyama, guess who leads the rookies in rebounds per game this year? Take a guess. Chet Holmgren, Wemby? No, neither of them. You think it's Derek Lively or Brandon Miller? No, neither of them. It's Asar Thompson, the guard for the Detroit Pistons. He has been an absolute dog so far this year. He leads the rookies in rebounds per game, like I just mentioned. He is third in blocks per game. He is second in assists per game for rookies. His offensive efficiency, yes, although it has been struggling a little bit. But defensively, Asar Thompson has been a monster. He's a great slasher. And he's a great guy who can fit in with the Pistons so well, who already have Cade Cunningham, Cade Cunningham has been amazing this season. Jalen Duren has had an incredible season for the Detroit Pistons when he's played so far. And new head coach Monty Williams has come in and clearly made an immediate impact for the Detroit Pistons. As I mentioned, Asar Thompson, Cade Cunningham has been balling, averaging nearly 23 points and 7 assists on 44% from 3. Those are incredible numbers. Despite it only being within 2 weeks of the season starting, those numbers are great. Jalen Duren, third in rebounds per game, top 10 in blocks. And he's made some very nice plays for the Pistons offense. They almost look like Lob City sometimes out there in transition. They have Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren, Asar Thompson running the court on a 3-man transition, throwing oops to each other, throwing, pass here, give and go there, behind the back. Like, they're a really fun squad to watch. If you're not into basketball right now and you want to get into basketball, watch this Detroit Pistons team. The Pacers too, like I mentioned, but watch this Detroit Pistons team. They're fun to watch. It'll get you to like basketball if you're already kind of tired of the NBA. But while I'm talking about some players who have been breaking out, there's a few other guys who have been really solid. I just want to give them their props. Cam Thomas, finally, the Brooklyn Nets are actually showing him love, giving him the time that he needs on the court, giving him 30 minutes a game, so that way he can score nearly 30 points a game. Sometimes you put your scores in, and it actually works out. Look at that. Tyrese Maxey, in the James Harden absence, Maxey has been absolutely balling. He has been a great facilitator for the Philadelphia 76ers. I'll get more into that in just a minute. And Tyler Hero, as well as Dennis Schroeder, who just made it to Toronto this offseason. He's been playing great. He's a great facilitator, taking the Fred VanVleet role, but making it more of a playmaker kind of style. He's been a great facilitator for the team, averaging about 7 assists a game. He's been a solid scorer for them. They have OG, they have Siakam, they have Scotty Barnes, but Dennis Schroeder has been arguably their best player so far this season. He's been fun to watch. The Raptors have been shaky, but also good team to watch too. And with that, I'm going to transition out of talking about the NBA for a minute. I'll get back there in a second. But I want to get into my predictions for all the NFL games this weekend. So this weekend is a pretty stacked slate, if I do say so myself. We have some top-tier matchups, starting with one in Germany with the Dolphins and the Chiefs, two teams who are, at this point in time, 6-2, fighting for the top seed in the AFC, as well as the top seed in their divisions. We have that game. We also have the Bengals and Bills, a game that, as you all may remember last year with the Damar Hamlin incident, that happened. The game never ended up finishing. And then in the playoffs, the Bills and the Bengals met once again, and the Buffalo Bills, unfortunately for them, were unable to come out on top. The Bengals took that one. And we have some other, really, really good matchups this weekend. It's really hard to say that there are any, great teams playing against a really bad team that's like an easy prediction. Every game is fairly close in my eyes. So, without further ado, let's just get right into it. The first game of this week's slate started last night with the Steelers and the Titans. That game was a little painful to watch. It was a low-scoring game, ended 20-16. The Steelers took home the win, at home, actually. And I saw a statistic that Mike Tomlin, in games following a loss at home, is like 60%, 65% win rate on against the spread, which is a betting thing. So they have to win by a certain amount of points, and they did. They covered the spread against the Titans last night. The other stat that I saw regarding Mike Tomlin and this Pittsburgh Steelers team is that they, facing against rookie quarterbacks at home, also have a tremendous win rate. The Pittsburgh Steelers, with Mike Tomlin, for what feels like forever, have always been very good. And that continued again last night. Despite their offensive struggles this season, Steelers are 5-3 in a playoff spot and have high hopes for the rest of their season. So props to them. To start off Sunday, though, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Miami Dolphins face off against each other. The Chiefs last week looked atrocious against the Denver Broncos, a team who has struggled mightily this season. But the Chiefs just did not look very good at all. And the Dolphins this entire season have pretty much been dominant, especially on offense. Tua, Tyreek, they have a really good connection. Tyreek, arguably, in my opinion, should be in the MVP conversation. And Jalen Waddle is just incredible. Like, the three of them, it's a three-headed monster out there. And especially with head coach Mike McDaniels, he's a fun guy.
Guten Tag. Oh, sorry, hello. I've been in Germany for a while.
In that game, I like the matchup for both sides. I kind of like the Chiefs to be able to bounce back from that really bad loss against the Denver Broncos last week, but I'm going to take the Dolphins, baby. Dolphins all day. The second game, Vikings-Falcons. Kirk Cousins tore Achilles. That's just absolutely brutal. Coming from a Redskins fan, I've always wanted to see Kirk succeed, especially in Minnesota, but he was having such a good season, starting to come back with this Vikings team who's had a rough start, but it's brutal. I'm gonna have to give this game to the Falcons. Falcons have also been a really streaky team. One game they look great, the next game they don't look so good at all. But the Falcons, I'm gonna have to give them this win without a real starting quarterback for the Vikings. Ravens Seahawks, two teams who have played amazing so far. The Ravens defense has been absolutely phenomenal team. Their defense allows the least amount of points. Yeah, the Ravens have let up the least amount of points to opponents. The Seahawks are coming in. They've been shaky as an offensive unit, but 5-2 nonetheless. The Ravens 6-2. I'm going to make that 7-2 for the Ravens. I think they walk out at home and beat the Seattle Seahawks. Browns Cardinals, two teams who, again, the Cardinals have been playing a lot better than most people have expected, especially considering the fact that they had Josh Dobbs at quarterback, who they just traded to the Minnesota Vikings, actually. I don't know how their new quarterback's going to come in and play. It's hard to say. Browns, P.J. Walker has actually been fairly solid for them in Deshaun Watson's absence. I'm going to give this game to the Browns, who also have a dominant defense against the Cardinals team who's starting a quarterback who has never played a game before. Rams-Packers, I'm going to give this one to the Rams. Both teams have been struggling recently. Packers' struggles, I just think, have been worse. And the Rams have Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. I think they'll be able to, make something work with those two guys against the Green Bay Packers. I'll give them the win there. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Houston Texans. This is a fun one. Bucks had a hot start to the season. They've kind of cooled off. So have the Texans, though. I like this game, though. Mike Evans versus C.J. Stroud. Baker versus Stroud, top 2 picks in the draft. I like this matchup. I think I'm going to go with Houston here. I've been kind of 50-50 on this game all week. I'm going to go Houston. I like the Texans to walk out of there with a win. Commanders versus Patriots. I'll get into the Commanders later. I'm furious with the team right now. But I'm going to take the win over the Patriots. Patriots' struggles have been a lot. We've looked good against the Eagles twice. Could have won both, but just in the end came up short. But despite trading away Montez Sweat and Chase Young, I still think that the Commanders can come out on top with this. I'm going to give the win to the Commanders. Bears and Saints. Tyson Bagent has been solid but the Saints have also been pretty solid. Alvin Kamara has been a dog so far. Receiving, he's been putting up receiver numbers at running back. He's done this forever. There's a statistic, I'll probably put it up. Alvin Kamara and Christian McCaffrey, since entering the league, they both were drafted in the same draft class in 2017. Since entering the league, their stats are nearly identical. Alvin Kamara is a stud. He's going to prove it. He's going to have a monster game. They're going to beat the Bears. Colts, Panthers. I'm going to give this to the Colts. Panthers finally got their first win last week against the Texans. I don't think they'll make it 2 in a row, though. I'm going to give this one to the Colts. Giants, Raiders, the battle of the bottom, I guess. Both teams struggled mightily this season. I'm going to give this one to the Originally, I was going to say Giants, but I kind of like the fact that they fired Josh McDaniels, the Raiders. And I kind of like Devontae, how he's talking about the team's having fun now. A.J. McCarron is now going to be the starter over Jimmy G. I'm going to give this one to the Raiders, actually. Yeah, I'm going to have Devontae and A.J. McCarron cook up some W's against the New York Giants. Cowboys, Eagles, another great matchup. I'm going to go Eagles. They've just looked so solid all year. The only loss that they have, it was a tough loss, but the Cowboys have had tougher. Losing to the Arizona Cardinals, that was just a really bad game for the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys' struggles are worse than the Eagles' struggles, and the Eagles they're just so good. Both teams are, but the Eagles especially, 7-1, top of the NFC, top of the NFL right now. So I'm going to give this one to the Eagles, make them 8-1. Bengals, Bills. I'm going to give this one to the Bengals, though, the home team. Cincy has slowly made their way back up from their slow start. The Bills have had some struggles recently, now dropped to 5-3. I think they go to 5-4 now, and they're going to seriously have to figure some things out after this week in order to make their playoff push and hopefully Super Bowl push. Lastly, Chargers, Jets. I'm actually going to give this one to the Jets. I like their defense. Chargers have had struggles against good defenses. Although I do think that the Chargers are a better team, especially when the Jets have Zach Wilson. I don't know. Something telling me Zach Wilson might have a game similar to the one that he had against the Chiefs, which is actually a good game. He played really well against the Chiefs, but he struggled for pretty much the rest of the season, which has been unfortunate. And that'll do it for my NFL takes. Back to the NBA, James Harden. I like this trade a lot for both sides. If the Clippers can manage to stay healthy, they will have 2 former MVPs. Paul George was top 3 in MVP voting one year, so they have 3 guys who have been top 3. I believe Kawhi also has, actually, so they have 4 guys who have all been either former MVPs or top 3. Kawhi Leonard, finals MVP twice for the Spurs and then for the Raptors. Paul George, playoff P. He's been solid. And then I feel like the Clippers have actually been able to manage Russell Westbrook better than the Lakers have. So I like this team, this lineup of Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Ivica Zubac. I think all of those guys it'll be a good season for the Clippers if they can manage to stay healthy. That's always been the big if with the Clippers. It's been tough, but I like where the season's going. For the Philadelphia 76ers, I actually like this a lot. I think this clears up all of their issues. Tyrese Maxey has been proving that he can lead the team the way Harden did. but in his own way. He can be that facilitator for the Sixers. He can be that, the outside scoring. He can do whatever he needs to do. Joel Embiid, obviously, won MVP last year. He's one of the best centers in the league, one of the best players in the league, arguably a top 5 guy. Him and Maxey can lead the team as a 1-2. Tobias Harris is a great number 3. He's been solid. And now you add a lot of depth. Robert Covington, Nick Batum. You got a lot of guys who are now coming in, a lot of guys who have also been on the team, who are able to, really step up when it matters most and just feed the hot hand, honestly. Like, you have Harden, you have Maxey, you have Tobias Harris. If you have that 4th guy, if you get one of those guys to heat up, now you have 4. 4 guys with a hot hand. That's gonna cause some trouble in the Eastern Conference. I know the East got loaded this year with Dame going to the Bucks, Drew going to the Celtics, KP going to the Celtics. The Celtics look incredible, but I like the Sixers team. I think this is the best team that the Sixers have had since they had Jimmy Butler on their squad. So if they want to make a push, this is a good time. Although there's competition around them, it's been pretty fierce. It's looking good for the Sixers, I think. I like where this team's going. And with that said, that's all for this show. I will be coming out with a second show right after this. But for this show, I talked about the NBA, some too early predictions, some thoughts that I had on at the first week and a half of the season. Talked about my predictions on the NFL games. Let me know if you think I was wrong on any of them. If you agreed, I hope we're right. And then for the James Harden trade, let me know your thoughts on that. What do you think for the Clippers? Do you think it'll work out with all 4 of those guys, or do you think that the Clippers will be able to pull through with it, and the Sixers, how will they be able to manage without a guy like Harden, who is just phenomenal? Let me know. If you have anything that you want me to talk about on next week's episode, let me know. If not, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.